right, week 16 of the NFL season is all but in the books. We had some really fun games. We had some not so fun games. A lot has changed. I don't know if any team in the AFC is a contender or pretender anymore, but we're going to break it all down and let's hop into these games. We're going to go all the way back to Thursday Night Football because your boy's been pretty sick, hasn't been here to talk about any of these games. The Seattle Seahawks defeated the Los Angeles Rams 38-37 in overtime. We saw a very, very wild game here. The Rams at one point were up 30-14. I thought, there they go. That's the best team in football, proving once again why they're the best team in football. Going on the road in Seattle, gonna dominate this game. Matthew Stafford's got that MVP locked up. Puka Nacua, no Devontae Adams, no problem. And then it started with a punt return touchdown from Rashid Shaheed, who I don't know why he's not more involved in Seattle's offense, if I'm being completely honest, because the man has burners and he's absolutely a playmaker, but that gets them a score. We see a touchdown later to Barner that has one of the weirdest two-point conversions ever, where it wasn't converted, but then it was a fumble that was recovered by Charbonnet because nobody thought it was a fumble, and then all of a sudden we had a tie game, 30-30, headed into overtime, and the Rams drive down the field. Puka Nacua, 41-yard touchdown. He was just insane. Puka was 12 for 225 and 2 touchdowns. Stafford gave you 457 and 3 touchdowns, but the Seahawks laid it on the line, man. They went for 2 in overtime. Drawed up a nice play with a little, chip and release from a tight end. And Seattle is your 1 seed right now in the NFC. And Seattle, the Rams, and the Niners have all officially clinched playoff spots by week 16, which is just insane. The Niners haven't even played yet, and they're in the playoffs. And it's just wild, man, what the NFC West has come to. And San Francisco might be the 1 seed still. San Francisco wins out, they're the 1 seed. I can't believe this is where we're at, but what a Thursday Night Football game that was, man. Good for Sam Darnold, too, to get that primetime win. And now we got some real players in the NFC in the playoffs, absolutely. The Philadelphia Eagles clinched the NFC East, clinched a playoff berth, 10-5 now on the season after defeating the Commanders 29-18. Philly, another solid game, back-to-back, pretty solid games for them, but against the Raiders and Commanders. So the question is, how much stock do you put in it? The defense was pretty solid once again in this particular game. Jalen Hurts, 22 of 30, 185 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, got his legs going. The big deal for this game for the Eagles was their ability to actually lean on the run. And again, is that a product of weaker competition or this team starting to figure some things out? I think we're going to find out more so versus Buffalo this upcoming week, but Saquon, 21 carries, 132 yards, a touchdown. A.J. Brown had a day, 9 for 95. So the Eagles trio of offensive stars, 8 in this particular football game, are they getting hot at the right time going into the playoffs, and a playoff that feels like, anybody's got a puncher's shot from both conferences to make a run here, and Philly is playing some decent ball right now. Again, it's lesser competition. They did clinch their division, so it's nice to see there, but the game versus Buffalo is going to be more telling for Washington. They're playing with backups at this point in time. The season's pretty much over for them. Jaden's going to be shut down the rest of the year. They're just kind of fighting to find guys who will be around. I actually thought their run game against an Eagles defense that's pretty solid looked decent. So Washington still has a really solid run game. Packers-Bears was one of the most insane games of the year. I thought the Packers were going to walk away with this game. Malik Willis, he came in for them after Jordan Love got concussed, and he was just absolutely balling in this game. Josh Jacobs had to stop playing running back because of a fumble, but then he was also the backup quarterback for the team. And this Bears team, man, every Bears game, going into it, yeah, it's going to be close and it's going to be weird at the end because it's the Bears. And then midway through the game, they make you forget that that's the case. And then all of a sudden we get to the fourth quarter. We're like, whoa, what is going on here? And it's the Chicago Bears, man. This is what they do. They make moves. The fourth down touchdown catch by a player, truthfully, that I've never heard of on the team. The onside kick recovery. Caleb with just an absolute rainbow dot in overtime to DJ Moore to win the game. The Bears 11-4. The Bears going to win this division. The Bears going to host probably multiple playoff games. The Bears a playoff lock. Caleb Williams has arrived. Like, this year, we're seeing such a changing of the guard at quarterback with Caleb and Drake May, and Trevor Lawrence is starting to show himself. And it's a weird, wonky NFL season, and I don't know if this is the season that sets the tone for the future going forward, or if this is going to be just an outlier season. But for Bears fans, that crowd was booming, man. So really happy for the Chicago Bears. Ben Johnson, they brought him in this offseason. They brought him in to instill an identity. He instilled that identity. This is the biggest Bears win since the last time that they made the playoffs with Mitch Trubisky. So good on the Bears, 6-1 at home this year too. So really important for them to clinch home field. And the Packers now, Jordan Love status, kind of a question mark. The Lions losing to Pittsburgh really does help them. They'll probably be a playoff team, but a game that maybe they would have been willing to, not even like willing to lose is the right word, but if I had told you going into the game, yeah, the Bears were going to beat the Packers, you'd be like, yeah, it's not that devastating. But the way in which they lost was certainly devastating and making me question what Green Bay's ceiling really is this season. We move on to Sunday action. The Buffalo Bills pick up a win over the Cleveland Browns, 23-20, man. The Bills, I don't know if they were overlooking Cleveland or if this is just kind of who the Bills are, good enough to beat anybody, good enough to be in a game with anybody. Ultimately, my dad, who's a Bills fan, I told him this, the most important thing is a win. The Bills got that. A W is a W. James Cook had a really, really impressive day. But when it comes to how this Bills defense looked against Shedeur Sanders and kind of the ups and downs that this team has had this year, in the AFC, if I said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times on this show. Every team feels like a pretender, but that also means every team kind of feels like a contender. In Buffalo, again, they have the best quarterback in the conference. James Cook is obviously really, really solid. They bench Keon Coleman again. I'm not sure what's going on with that kind of decision. And at the end of the day, they got the job done. I still believe in Buffalo, but this was not a resounding win by any means. I thought Shedeur played okay, played fine in the football game. Probably could have won it if he had made a couple more plays, but at the end of the day, went head-to-head with Josh Allen, only lost by 3. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for the Browns. For Buffalo, would I have liked to have seen a more dominant win? Absolutely, but the Browns defense does have some good players on it, so, they keep pushing along. Get a W. You talk about a team potentially hitting their stride at the right time, man. The Los Angeles Chargers pick up a 34-17 victory over the Dallas Cowboys. Justin Herbert isn't going to be the MVP, but man, on an MVP ballot where you put 5 guys down, it's hard for me to think that there are 5 guys more deserving of an MVP award than Justin Herbert for what he's done this year for this Chargers team. 23 of 29 in this game, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. I know that the Cowboys defense on secondary isn't really that great, but what Justin Herbert has done, you talk about team on the back. The Chargers 11-4 now. Sneaky, could still win their division after Denver's loss today, so it's not completely over yet. LA, I look at this team, man, and I think when they get Alt and Slater back and another offseason with that defense and developing some of their young talent, a full season of Omarion Hampton, Trey Harris is starting to get going, they to me scream 2026 Super Bowl favorites. And Justin Herbert to me screams 2026 MVP candidate. But shit, the way that the AFC is looking right now, it's hard for me to say that they don't have kind of just as good a shot as anybody in the AFC to make a run this year. They have a high-end top 10 quarterback. They have a high-end top 10 head coach. They have a top 10 defense. What more do you need to go on a run in a conference that doesn't have a team that is standing out as very, very strong above the rest? I think the Chargers might have what it takes. Cowboys drop another game. Dak gets benched in the second half. Cancun on 3, baby. 1, 2, 3, Cancun. The Kansas City Chiefs have officially given up on the 2025 season. 26-9, the Tennessee Titans beat them. Not going to spend much time on this game. Cam Ward, 21-28 for 228 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tony Pollard has another 100-yard rushing day. Gardner Minshew probably tore his ACL for the Chiefs, so now they're down to a third-string quarterback. Christmas Day, Broncos, Chiefs. I mean, I think it's Travis Kelce's last home game. So for that, assuming he retires, I hope that Chiefs fans show up and, are willing to celebrate Kelce, and we see some fun plays there. But their season's absolutely cooked, and the Titans probably out of number 1 pick contention at this point. Speaking of teams that gave up on their season, the Miami Dolphins, man. The Cincinnati Bengals go to Miami and pick up a 45-21 victory. Felt like Joe Burrow just kind of wanted to flex his muscle and tell everybody, like, no, I'm still Joe Burrow. I'm still good. I didn't completely give up here. 25 of 32 for 309 yards and 4 touchdowns. How you doing? Dude was just spreading the rock around. And man, as much crap as we give this team about paying T. Higgins, you could tell when he's out there and when he's not out there just how much different this offense is and how much better it is with T. Higgins. The ball is able to be spread out much more. The defensive tensions all around. Chase was able to get 9 for 109 in this game. So the Bengals, their high-end offense flexes at muscles. I don't even think Quinn Ewers played that bad in this game. 21 points. But, your defense lets up 45 to Joe Burrow. Not much you're going to be able to do in that game. The Saints just absolutely mollywopped the Jets 29-6. Tyler Shuck, man. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong about old Tyler Shuck. 32 of 49 for 308 and a touchdown. Olave with a massive day, 10 for 148 and 2 touchdowns. The Jets, just another team. Packed it up, gave up on the season. It's over. Every third down was basically a sack. Not much of a watchable game. But New Orleans, man, with Kellen Moore, Shuck, some of these weapons, an NFC South that looks pretty winnable. Some momentum could be building for next year. The Vikings pick up a 16-13 victory over the New York Giants. J.J. McCarthy ends up not playing in the second half of this one. Brosmer comes. This was perhaps the worst game of Jackson Dart's career. The man had like 30 passing yards, wasn't running, and now all of a sudden his team's in the Mendoza Bowl next week. Raiders, Giants, loser gets number 1 pick. I'd love to me, I want the Giants to lose that game because I'd be fascinated as to what do they do with that pick? Do they trade the pick? Do they trade Jackson Dart? There would be a lot to be talking about there for the New York Giants if they lose next week to the Raiders. And based on the way the Raiders played today, that very well might happen. I just don't know how the Giants don't find a way to win a game that Max Brosmer comes in. We watched Max Brosmer against Seattle. We know how bad that guy could be, but the Vikings, and I guess on the strength of Brian Flores' defense, picked up a win in this one. All right, a game with some real stakes, man. The Buccaneers drop to 7-8, losing to the Panthers, who are now 8-7, 23-20. Bryce Young thoroughly outplays Baker Mayfield, 21-32 for 191 and 2 touchdowns. Tedero McMillan, potential emerging rookie of the year, 6 for 73 and a touchdown. The Carolina Panthers, man, they are a seesaw team. Every week this year, they have alternated wins and losses. They have clearly been a better team at home this year. They had some juice in this game that Tampa just didn't have. And while I'm happy for Carolina, I'm happy for Bryce, I'm happy for Canales, I'm happy for Tet, Rico Dowdle finding a home, and starting to emerge as a high-end running back. I'm happy for all of it. J.C. Horn looks like a top-tier corner in football, and the Panthers look like they're headed towards the playoffs. The bigger story here is Tampa Bay and what the hell is going on with the Buccaneers. And the 2 biggest problems, to me, are coaching. This team desperately misses Liam Cohen, and they still miss Dave Canales, who's on the other side. You can only change your offensive coordinator so many years in a row before you get somebody that isn't just quite to the level of next head coach candidate like the previous two guys you got. And that's where they're at. And Todd Bowles, I feel like he's kind of been 50-50 for a few years now. But Baker's been bad. And we have to call a spade, and we have to acknowledge that. Baker has been bad. And this Buccaneers team can only go as far as Baker Mayfield takes them. And for the first 6 weeks of the year, Baker was doing a lot with a little and looking like an MVP candidate. And in the last few weeks, Baker's doing a little with a lot. Bucky Irving's back. Mike Evans is back. Emeka Egbuka only has one catch in this game. Chris Godwin's back. Jalen McMillan's back. You have K-Dot. You have Rashad White. And this offense isn't churning. Baker's taking sacks. Baker's not making great throws. He's getting outplayed by his division rival Bryce Young in this game. And Tampa's in real trouble. Now, the good news for Tampa is next week they play Miami, who completely gave up on the year, so they should win that game. And Carolina hosts Seattle, who's still playing to be the 1 seed. So there's a world where they win next week, Carolina loses, and both of these teams are 8-8, and the Week 18 game in Tampa is for the division. That's why you go to FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever you use, you'll see that Tampa is still the favorite to win this division. Because that's what Vegas believes will happen. But this was a massive, massive game for Carolina. And their stock, not just for this year, but going forward, is on the up. And Tampa Bay is on the down. Even if they end up swapping at the end of the year here and Tampa gets in the playoffs. Because let's call a spade a spade. Whichever one of these teams is getting into the playoffs, that's where the season comes to an end. You're going to play host to the 5-seed Rams, the 5-seed Seahawks, and beat them? I don't think so. I don't think so one bit. So, good win for Carolina. Tampa, technically still not dead, but really underachieving. You know who's not underachieving? The Jacksonville Jaguars, man. They go into Denver and pick up a 34-20 victory, a statement game. Trevor Lawrence, the Prince, has arrived. I never thought we'd see the day. I have been somebody who's been a Trevor Lawrence stan, believer, fanboy, whatever you want to call me, for years. And this year, I finally washed my hands of it coming in to the season. I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm done being hurt by you, Trevor. I'm done believing in the person you could be. Because you're not. That's where I was at. I was hurt too many times by Trevor. Gave up. And man, do I look silly now. Trevor Lawrence is playing the best ball of his career. Trevor Lawrence is looking like the guy he was drafted to be out of Clemson. As is Travis Etienne, by the way. We'd seen over the past few weeks the Jags beat up on the Jets and beat up on the Cardinals. And we were kind of like, what kind of stock do we put in this? Do we believe in this? Do we take the Jags seriously? And I had been leaning on the side of no, because every time I had started to take the Jags seriously in the past, they'd betrayed me. Trevor had betrayed me. And he went back into a pumpkin. And I was like, you know what? I'm not falling for it. And now we saw this game. In Mile High, in Denver, in December, Trevor Lawrence on the road, no Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr. having a down year. Walk them down. Walk in your trap, take over your trap. With Parker Washington, Travis Etienne, Jacoby Myers, Brenton Strange. Liam Cohen has fixed Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence now has top 10 quarterback upside. We'll see how the year plays out. But as crazy as it is to say, Duval has just as much of a shot to come out the AFC as any team. The second half of the year, they have been one of the best teams in football. The defense is legit and has a real pass rush, and they force takeaways. The offense has a real flow to it, and Trevor Lawrence hasn't turned the ball over in a month. He could kill you through the air and on the ground. Elite size, elite arm. The Jags are real. I didn't think I'd be saying it, but the Jags are 1,000% real. And now you look through the AFC, I still think the Broncos are real, man. 7-1 at home this year. They had just won 11 straight. Like, we're not going to act like the sky is falling because the team got outplayed by another good team on a random Sunday. They just beat Green Bay last week. Bo Nix had a fantastic day. And, I'm not going to hit the panic button on the Broncos. I still think they're legit, too. And they could go. None of these teams feel like A pluses to me. They all feel like B pluses. But if every kid in the class is getting a B plus, 89 might be the best grade in the class. Who's going to get it? Because somebody's got to go to the bowl. But the Broncos, Jags, Patriots, Bills, Texans, Chargers, hell, even the Steelers after what we saw today. Any one of them. I don't think I'd bet on any one of them. Gun to my head, I'm going to probably pick Josh Allen. But any one of them could. And the Jags proved today, yeah, we could go on the road to Denver and win in a high-pressure, big stakes game. Because that's what they did. So shout out Liam Cohen. Shout out Trevor Lawrence. Shout out the Jaguars. The Falcons go to Arizona and beat the Cardinals 26-19. Kirk Cousins continues to build the tape for why a team should pay him money next year. Kirk Cousins, all-time bag chaser, probably going to get a 1-year, $10 million, $15 million deal to be a backup somewhere. Maybe back in Minnesota, man. Bijan Robinson, again, shows why he's just one of the best offensive players in the world. The Falcons, they're still fighting. Hey, I'm wondering if they're going to save Raheem Morris and that coaching staff's job with what they're doing in kind of the end of the year here if they get to 7-8 wins. Arizona, a team that I feel like is in a lot of games but loses every single one of them. No different here. In what was one of the crazier games of the day, the Pittsburgh Steelers pick up the 29-24 victory in Detroit over the Lions, virtually ending the Lions season, virtually locking the Steelers into the playoffs. Let's start with Pittsburgh, man. Their offensive identity has started to come around, and it doesn't feel sustainable. Yet, here we are, and they've kind of sustained it the last month. This Jalen Warren, Kenny Gainwell combination is working. Warren had 2 long touchdown runs. Gainwell had that crazy long touchdown catch at the end of the half where I didn't think he caught it. Nobody thought he caught it. He was down. He wasn't down. He gets up. He runs it in. And all of a sudden it was 10-10 at the half. DK Metcalf's out here fucking punching fans in the face. Rodgers felt like he just, every time they needed to play in the second half, was able to pick it up. That Lions defense, I mean, they're injured, but they're always injured. And he was just able to pick them apart. Rodgers' IQ. And this is kind of the reason at the beginning of the year, when a lot of people were out on the Steelers, I had them at 10-7 making the playoffs. Because Aaron Rodgers, while he's 41, 42 years old, he's the best quarterback they've had since Roethlisberger. And this is a team that's just constantly won 9-10 games. I wasn't going to believe that they were going to get worse with him. And they didn't. They put up 17 in the fourth quarter. They had an answer every time they needed one. Even with Boswell missing that kick, they were still able to hang on and win. Really weird play at the end of the game. Was it OPI? I thought it looked bad. Maybe Ramsey flops a little. Maybe he sells it. I mean, if they didn't call it and that lateral to Goff stood, that might have been the craziest play of the year. And the referees who got up on there and said, that's a touchdown, but, you're fucked, OPOI, go home. That was insane rage bait troll. That the refs were rage baiting there. And for the Lions and the Buccaneers, if you could quietly put their management under truth serum and you ask them, hey, going back, would you fire your current head coach? For the Lions, Dan Campbell, or the Buccaneers, Todd Bowles, to keep your offensive coordinator that's leaving, Ben Johnson and Liam Cohen? I wonder what they would do. You have to think the Buccaneers would 100% say yes, but I genuinely believe the Lions would have to consider it too. The Lions couldn't run the ball in this game, and we know Ben Johnson can run the ball in any game. The Lions' lack of identity. You know, Jared Goff does all he could do. Jared Goff is naturally a limited player. He's not Mahomes. He's not Josh Allen. But you knew that going in. They couldn't run the ball. They're demanding Goff to throw it 50 times in this game. They don't have a defense outside of Aiden Hutchinson. They're lost. And the Super Bowl window that they had feels slammed shut. Feels slammed shut. They're not a playoff team. They're not going to make the playoffs. And I'll be interested to see what kind of changes are made in Detroit. And for Pittsburgh, man, like I mentioned with the rest of the AFC, punter shot, at least. Punter shot at least. The Raiders go into Houston and have a much closer game with the Texans than I thought we would see, but a 23-21 victory for the Texans nonetheless. Ashton Genty. Hey, Rook, have a day. 128 on the ground, 60 in the air, 2 touchdowns for him. CJ Stroud was pretty bad in this game, and it's kind of crazy because last week, coming off of the game that Stroud had, I was really high on Houston and figuring that they had figured it out, that they had put all the pieces together at the right time. That's what it felt like with Houston last week. I still feel like Houston has one of, if not the best defense in football. Stingley with his first ever pick 6 today. Waj and Daniil Hunter are still studs. But the offense, this was worry. This was concerning for a Texans team that in the AFC, like every AFC team, has a real shot, man. It's as wide open as I can remember in my lifetime. But not if you're going to perform like this offensively. Max Crosby and the Raiders defensive line blew up every run play. And I get it, no Woody Marks. And Woody Marks is clearly a difference maker for this Texans run game. But, I mean, guys were being tackled on hike. Stroud was facing a ton of pressure today, but even when he wasn't, his throws were super inaccurate and bad. Were the Texans sleeping through this game because they just didn't take the Raiders seriously? I don't know. Maybe. Is that a good excuse? I don't think so. At the end of the day, win's a win. They got the win, and they can push forward and move on. But this is as bad of a win as you could have, in my opinion. And then Sunday Night Football, man, the Patriots basically end the Ravens season. Drake May and the Patriots are raising an 11-point deficit. May put the team on his back, 31 of 44, 380 yards, 2 touchdowns. Primetime Diggs, 9 for 138. The Patriots, just when you thought, because coming off the loss to Buffalo, they were down, and they probably should have lost this game at a certain point. When Derrick Henry scored that touchdown, I thought, okay, the Patriots were pretenders. I really did. That's what I thought. I thought the Patriots were pretenders. And then Drake May, Stephon Diggs, Vrabel, and that team showed that they got fight. They battled back into the game, and they won. and they're still alive for the 1 seed, especially after Denver's loss. And you look at the AFC playoff picture, it's possible Mehl is the second best quarterback. They could run the ball pretty well. Travion Henderson obviously got hurt in this game, but he, didn't look like anything too serious. Stevenson had a nice run in this game. In the big spots, Stephon Diggs is still showing to be very dependable. The defense will be getting Milton Williams back. You have Gonzo. They'll be getting their tackles back. And you look at New England, and you're like, 7-0 on the road this year. That's a team with culture. That's a team that knows how to win. For Baltimore, man, maybe this isn't fair. Lamar can't leave that game. And I listen, maybe we'll hear about the injury and hear what level it is, and I'll look like a jackass. And that's fine. Pat doesn't lead that game. Mahomes doesn't lead that game. Josh Allen doesn't lead that game. Yeah, I mean, how do I know? Josh Allen came back into the game this week with a foot injury. Mahomes been playing on an injured knee for a month. Maybe it wasn't the brightest idea with how it turned out, I guess, but he didn't leave. Jalen Hurts doesn't leave that game. He was concussed last year versus the Rams in the playoff game. Doesn't leave that game. And no, this isn't specifically a playoff game, but every game for the Ravens is a playoff game. Justin Herbert doesn't leave that game. Justin Herbert's been playing banged up for a month. And Lamar left the game. And then John Harbaugh sucked. You're up double digits. Derrick Henry runs in a touchdown. And that's the last we see of Derrick Henry. The Pats couldn't tackle him. And you did the Patriots a favor and took him out of the game. Bad leadership from Lamar. Terrible coaching from Harbaugh. This Ravens thing is headed towards a blow-up. They're not going to make the playoffs because the Steelers are one win from the Browns, one win against the Browns away from clinching the division, and the Week 18 game not even mattering. It's over for the Baltimore Ravens. Their season is cooked. We're going to have an AFC playoffs without Baltimore and without Kansas City. Imagine you told somebody that at the beginning of the year. But all right, guys, I appreciate you sticking with me. Sick the last week, didn't get to post, hated it. I made it through the video, so that's a good sign. Probably going to get a hot tea here, some honey, rest the vocal cords a little bit. Be back tomorrow for the Tuesday tier list. I really do appreciate all of your guys' support. We're back, and I will catch you later. Peace.